Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vignakara Dura Hamari Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Ganganapataye namo namaha. Ganganapataye namo namaha. Om Ekadantaya vidmahi Vakratundaya dhimahi Tanno Danti prachodayat. Ganganapataye namo namaha. Ganganapataye namo namaha. Ganganapataye namo namaha. Ganganapataye namo namaha. Namo namaha. Namo namaha.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Welcome to our weekly online satsang. We join together from all over the world. We've been
Get the
having
camera
some,
fixed, and now the internet's not fixed.
yeah, it was very strange. It just dropped out. So let us know if the sound is good. The echo should be gone now. Everything should be lovely. So if you're here and we're not echoing and the sound's okay, just enter it in the chat. Thank you. Anyway, welcome to the Flowering Heart Online Satsang. We do this every Monday night, and we're glad you're here because we're strengthened exponentially when we join together. Our presence, our inner peace and silence. And it's so important at this time on earth that as many people awaken to oneness with the divine and with all that is as quickly as possible. The world is in a place of conflict and competition and violence, the likes of which, well, we've never seen, because there have never been so many of us on this planet at one time before. And what needs to happen is that we shift from competition, conflict, and violence to cooperation, harmony, and peace. Philosophy will not bring that about. Religion will not bring that about. Politics will not bring that about. The only thing that can bring it about is the flowering of the human heart. And not just one of us, but all of us need to shift. Humanity is a collective being. It's a body. Each of us are cells in this collective body we call humanity, or the human race. And the more of us that awaken, it ripples out through the collective and makes it easier for others to awaken and to shift. And we truly believe, as many of the masters and mystics of the recent centuries have believed, that we're going to reach a point where enough of us have shifted that the entire collective consciousness is going to shift together. That's when there will be peace on earth. Someday we're going to wake up, the ego will have lost its grip, we'll look into each other's eyes and go, wow, I see myself looking at me through your eyes. I feel, I don't just believe intellectually and spiritually, I can feel and experience that we are one being. And it would make no sense for us to hurt each other or try to harm each other in any way. Then there will truly be peace. That's why the collective awakening of humanity must be our goal. And this happens one step at a time, one person at a time. Thank you for consenting to the process of awakening. That's why you're here. And we love these times together. Yeah, we've been having some really interesting electronic issues. And over the last oh, so many years, decades, many decades of ministry, I've noticed that when there's a lot of spiritual activity, and I mean the divine spirit, I mean the Spirit of God. When the Spirit of God is moving, electronics can have a very interesting wobble. So that happened a little bit earlier, but we're back. Yay! And everybody tells me the sound is good, so we figured it out with your help last
Yes.
week. Some of you that are here helped us figure that out, and
Thank you.
it's been a learning curve. But I think we're kind of on top of the equipment now, except for when it just dropped offline like that. So anyway, I think this is going to be a wonderful evening. We're going to open it in a few minutes to questions and answers. But first, if you're here and it's a week from when we did this, or a month or a year, please give us a thumbs up or a heart if you're on Facebook Live. Because I keep going back in and looking at who tunes in after the fact and watches these webcasts. And so many people do between one Monday and the next. It's really heartwarming to see. And we send you special hugs and blessings if you just let us know you were here. So pick an emoji you like. I like the heart and the thumbs up the best, but you know, there are some other nice ones too. If you're watching on Vimeo, you can enter in the chat just your name and say hi or namaste, and I check there as well. So anyway, and we're sharing the Flowering Heart Blessing, which is a direct transmission of divine presence, which is as enlightened as anything could be, is the divine presence itself, the spiritual presence of the divine source. And it's pure unconditional love and grace. The Flowering Heart Blessing catalyzes awakening in the receiver. And when you've received it just once, and well, you're receiving it right now, you are activated to invite the divine to flow it through you to others. So you might as well start now. And just hold an intention for the Flowering Heart Blessing to flood everyone who tunes in tonight and everyone who ever watches this video or listens to the audio at any time in the future. Because spirit is unbounded by time or space. It's always right here, right now. Even if you're listening to this 10 years after we did it, you're still here and now, and the blessing is flowing to you. So please join us in sending the Flowering Heart Blessing to everyone who ever tunes in. This coming Sunday is our monthly interfaith communion with the Cosmic Christ. It's interfaith because everybody's welcome. You can be a Jew, a Muslim, a Hindu, a Buddhist, a pagan, a Taoist. Everyone's welcome. The presence of the Cosmic Christ, which is the spark of divinity at the heart of everything in creation. In India, it's often referred to as the Paramatma. Some people call it the God within or the inner light. Many people are experiencing Christ consciousness that don't relate per se to the Christian religion. You're all invited to our monthly communion with the Cosmic Christ. And this coming Sunday, which is the 30th of March, at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, we'll have our monthly service. And the focus, the meditation is going to be, this coming Sunday, freedom from cares, cravings, and compulsions. Subtitle, Cultivating Christ Consciousness. Freedom from cares. Doesn't that sound nice? Carefree. Freedom from cravings. Liberation from desire. And freedom from compulsion. We can dance free in the spontaneous dance of life without compulsions. So I think you might enjoy it. Please join us, and if you can't be there, either online, because we'll be transmitting it right here on Facebook Live and Vimeo and LinkedIn and YouTube, the recordings will be available as long as they last. As long as there's an internet. And as long as there's a Facebook and a Vimeo and a LinkedIn and a YouTube, these videos will be there for you to tune in. So please join us. I think those are all the announcements for right now. So we're going to open it in just a few minutes to questions and answers on the spiritual journey. Could be anything. Ask a question about your own path, your own experience, or just something you're musing about or contemplating, and you'd like some more light, some more inspiration and understanding. It'll help everyone if you ask your question. To give you a few minutes, I already see some's already up there, and we'll come back to that. Ekaterina. I like to share quotes each week from a website, inspiringquotes.com. And I was kind of stuck this week between how food unites us and about walking. So I think I'm going to go for the walking. This article that's intended to inspire walking is put together by Tony Donnell. He's an English writer of nonfiction and fiction living on the edge of the Amazon jungle, and we've loved many of his articles. So here's what Tony has to say, and what these quotes he's gathered from influential people about walking have to say. Tony writes, "Walking is one of the most basic actions we all perform. Whether it's strolling down the street or setting off on a 10-mile hike through nature. Despite the simplicity of walking, putting one foot in front of the other, the benefits are numerous. Many studies show that just 30 minutes of walking a day can improve both physical and mental health. It can strengthen the heart and the joints, burn off calories, and boost immune function. It can also improve your mood, and studies suggest increase creativity. It is perhaps this latter benefit, increasing creativity, that has made walking so popular among writers, artists, thinkers, and other creatives. As the limbs loosen during a walk, so too does the mind. Whether in the day or in the city or in the countryside, the simple act of walking can reveal thoughts that might otherwise have stayed locked away. If you're struggling to find the motivation to take a stroll, consider the following quotes from famous figures, both past and present, about the myriad merits of a good walk. So here we go. The sum of the whole is this: walk and be happy. Walk and be healthy. Charles Dickens. Every day I walk myself into a state of well-being and walk away from every illness. I've walked myself into my best thoughts, and I know of no thought so burdensome that one cannot walk away from it. Soren Kierkegaard. All truly great thoughts are conceived while walking. Friedrich Nietzsche. A walk is always filled with significant phenomena, which are valuable to see and to feel. A pleasant walk most often teems with imageries and living poems, with enchantments and natural beauties, be they ever so small. Robert Walsner. I am extremely happy walking on the downs. I like to have space to spread my mind out in. Virginia Woolf. Walking and talking. are two very great pleasures, but it is a mistake to combine them. The only friend to walk with is one who so exactly shares your taste for each mood of the countryside that a glance, a halt, or at most a nudge is enough to assure us that the pleasure is shared. C.S. Lewis. The sovereign invigorator of the body is exercise. And of all the exercises, walking is best. Thomas Jefferson. There's nothing like walking to get the feel of a country. A fine landscape is like a piece of music. It must be taken at the right tempo. Even a bicycle goes too fast. Paul Scott Maurer. Walking is the perfect way of moving if you want to see into the life of things. It is the one way of freedom. If you go to a place on anything but your own feet, you are taken there too fast and miss 1,000 delicate joys that are waiting for you by the wayside. Elizabeth von Arnim. I understood at a very early age that in nature I felt everything I should feel in church, but never did. Walking in the woods, I felt in touch with the universe and with the spirit of the universe. Alice Walker. Give me odorous at sunrise, a garden of beautiful flowers where I can walk undisturbed. Walt Whitman. Walking, ideally, is a state in which the mind, the body, and the world are aligned as though they were three characters finally in conversation together. Three notes suddenly making a chord. Walking allows us to be in our bodies and in the world without being made busy by them. Rebecca Solnit. Distance changes utterly when you take the world on foot. A mile becomes a long way. 2 miles literally considerable. 10 miles whopping. 50 miles at the very limits of conception. The world you realize is enormous in a way that only you and a small community of fellow hikers know. Planetary scale is your little secret. Lovely.
Mm-hmm. Who is that by?
Oh, Bill Bryson. Sorry, Bill. Yeah, walking meditation is practiced by, I believe, every spiritual tradition on earth, all the monastic traditions I'm aware of. I first learned meditative walking at the Taoist temple, which is where I started my spiritual journey, studying with a Taoist monk from China. And as a regular part of our meditations, moving Qigong and beautiful moving meditations and eye meditations and sitting, eyes closed. In the midst of all that, we would always take time to walk, and very slowly as we could walk without stopping. And at first that was kind of frustrating because you weren't allowed to pass the person in front of you. You just walked in this circle without ever stopping, without looking down, just surrendering to the flow and moving continuously and as slowly feeling every place in balance. And in a few minutes, You were in an altered state of consciousness that was so beautiful. And my master said, well, in China, the monks, the Taoist monks, would enter this state of meditation. They could walk for literally days in the mountains without tiring, without needing to sleep or to stop, because they were just in harmony and oneness with the Tao, the way of nature. Lovely. Then when I started to spend a lot of time in Latin America, I heard that the Incas did exactly the same thing. The Incas would walk through the Andes, long distances for days at a time. They're priests without stopping because they entered into that same meditative state. Wow. Then I started to spend time with Benedictine monks and Trappist, Cistercian Trappist monks from the Catholic mystical tradition. I discovered they all practiced walking meditation. Then we started to spend a lot of time in India. And one of the beautiful practices they taught us in the first process we went through in India was just go outside and for the next 20 minutes, just walk in nature as slowly and smoothly as you can without stopping. It was exactly the same thing that the Christian monks were doing, that the Incan priests were doing, that the Taoist monks were doing, and I know for a fact the Buddhist monks do the same. Many people know about Thich Nhat Hanh, the great Zen master, and Thich Nhat Hanh's favorite thing was walking. His anchor, he said, was conscious breathing, but what he led people in was meditative walking to realize the present and to awaken in the present moment. So, and my master, back to him, and then I'll pass the torch. My Taoist master was also a great master of Taoist Gong Fu, the martial art, and we would do hours of these strenuous movements and exercise that were very beautiful but very demanding. And one day he so surprised me, he said, Michael, the best form of exercise isn't all this strenuous stuff, it's just walking. If you just walk, that is the best exercise, the most healing and creative exercise that you could put your body through. I went, oh, thank God. I thought I was going to have to do all this martial arts stuff for the rest of my life, you know. And Suzanne and I do. We try to walk for at least 30 minutes every day. And great inspiration comes to us when we do that on the ocean side. I don't know if you want to add to that.
No.
So, highly recommend spiritual walking. And St. John of the Cross, the great master of the dark night of the soul and of divine union in Spain back in the day, whenever a monk or a seeker that he was leading in spiritual direction became too serious, too depressed, too stuck in the dark night of the soul, he'd say, okay, just stop all of that spiritual practice stuff and go out into the countryside and just walk in nature and roll in the grass and smell the flowers. And then, you know, when you've got it, come back and we can go on with the spiritual stuff. I always loved that about him. Some people think that John of the Cross is just this dark, serious guy. No, he was leading people to the mountaintop of total freedom in union with Source. And for that, your heart has to be open to the flow and to the beauty of it all and not get bogged down in the hard stuff, the deep valleys. So Yekaterina writes, what to do about the people we love to help them come closer to God? Should we just pray for them and let them have their own experience? Each time my son, boyfriend, or friend complains, I just can't tell them to come closer to God and they will see things in a new light. And also, I don't find connection when I try to talk about soul preferences over ego preferences. Well, I think you pretty well described it exactly. The best thing that we can do is pray for them and let them have their own experience. I mean, how can you stop them from having their own experience? Sure, let's let them have their own experience. But you're quite right. We cannot impose our insights and breakthroughs on others. In fact, it makes them shut down more. I often say that uninvited advice is never appreciated. Seldom. And it can bring real resistance in people. Don't tell me what to do. I'm glad that worked for you, but I need to find my own way. And yet when we find freedom in the spiritual path, many of us are just compelled, especially in our youthful inexperience, to want to share our great joy with our family and our friends and everyone we meet. And we're so surprised when they're not open to receive it. Well, they need to find it their own way, or it needs to find them. It's not up to us. We're not the source of grace. It's up to the divine to lead them in their own unique way and in the right time when their soul is receptive to give them that grace of insight and opening.
I think too that the more that we just live our lives, we become a living example of that. And the only way that people are going to see that is if they have eyes to see, ears to hear. And we just never know when it's going to strike them. We're just living our own lives in faith and grace and love and hope. And sometimes when I'm interacting with people, I'll say a little something, that worked for me, not in reference even to what the conversation was about, but just little things of, wow, it was such a miracle when, or it was so beautiful when this, grace happened, or, just little tiny tidbits. But I'm definitely learning the older that I get, the more that I need to just step back and
read the room.
Read the room and let people.
It's their receptivity.
Yeah, but I realize the more that I just be me in my highest light and highest connection to the divine presence, there is trickle over. I see it with my kids. I see it with other family members. Our kids years ago just asked us, how do you guys live the way that you live? I mean, we have no 401k or insurance or retirement plan.
Oh, we have the best insurance in the universe.
We do, exactly. And that's what we tell them. We're like, we're living on faith and by grace, and so far it's going great. So we just lead by example. And sometimes it's really hard, especially when it's the people that are closest to us, to want to really, share this rich aspect of our lives. But they'll come to it if and when they need it, or they discover that they need it, or, whenever the timing is right for them. You can't force somebody to wake up without doing, Violence, yeah. So people wake up at their own time, at their own pace, in their own way. And when they do, it's a more rich, fulfilling experience for them, because they feel like they discovered it themselves. If we tell people how to be, it's not always, it doesn't really stick. People have to come to spaces in their own. It's like a good therapist will see what the problem is, see what the solution is, but kind of guide the conversation so that the person comes up with the aha moment and the solution themselves. And that's kind of, I think, a good guideline for any of us going through life.
I need to make a small disclaimer. We're not encouraging anyone to liquidate their insurance. I mean, our way may not be your way.
Right.
And that sounds foolish on the surface. So we're definitely not preaching fanaticism.
No.
Things have unfolded the way they've unfolded for us, and nobody needs to live like we do, you find your own way, and that's part of the problem. I mean, what if we started saying, we live without medical insurance? What's wrong with you? Don't you have enough faith? No, it's not like that at all. Not at all like that. I want to tell a little story.
Well, we do still have car insurance and house insurance.
We have what we have to have.
We have what we have to have, right?
But we trust another source. Anyway, so there was this guy. His name was Smith Wigglesworth. What a great name. An Englishman who became a great teacher of faith and a great healer, a faith healer, back in the early 20th century in Great Britain. But he wasn't always a great man of faith and a great healer. He was a harsh scoundrel. And he was married to this beautiful lady who was a believer in God, who had deep faith. And she really wanted her husband to, of course, to have her experience of God, but he didn't, and he was not interested at all. So she did what Suzanne was talking about. She just embodied, keeping her mouth shut. She just embodied the faith, embodied her experience of divine union without trying to persuade him or change his mind or convert him or preach to him. She just lovingly lived with him and embodied the love of God. Well, he didn't like that. He thought she spent too much time at prayer meetings, and going to worship with other people, and it just drove him nuts that she would go to these prayer meetings. So in the evening a lot. And so this one night he said, if you go out again tonight to pray with your friends, I am going to lock the door. And you can spend the night freezing on the doorstep of this house. But I'm not going to let you in, so don't go out tonight. Well, what did she do? She went to the prayer meeting. And sure enough, when she got home, it was freezing. And the door was locked. And her husband had gone to bed and left her to sit on the stoop, the doorstep, freezing all night long. And she didn't complain. She just trusted in God and endured through the night, praying for her husband. In the morning, she got the newspaper. He unlocked the door. She came in, gave him his morning paper. She went and fixed him his favorite breakfast, sat there at the table with him while he completely ignored her. I mean, he just put her through torture. And she just lovingly fixed his breakfast and totally loving and forgiving him unconditionally. And he sat there with his face buried in the newspaper, and she just sat across the table and just beamed love at him. And finally, he just couldn't stand it anymore. And he slams the newspaper down and says, what is it about you? What have you got? I want that. I've got to have what you've got. That was horrible the way I treated you last night and what I did. And there you are just glowing in peace. I've got to have that. What do I need to do? And then his heart was open, and she showed him how to open his heart to the indwelling of the divine presence. And as a result, he became that one I started talking about, who became a great teacher of faith that touched the lives of countless thousands of people and healed countless thousands of people during the remainder of his life as a great teacher of faith and a great spiritual healer. All because, and I'm sure she had the grounds to leave him. He was abusive. And I'm not saying you should be a doormat and let anyone abuse you either. But her patience and endurance in faith and love without a word led to the conversion of one of the greatest embodiments of faith and spiritual healing in Great Britain in his time, in his life. So That story's always stuck with me.
Yeah, but every time I hear it, you know, the mind and the ego goes, why didn't she have a key? Why didn't she leave him? Why didn't she spend the night at a friend's? Why? It's like, there's, you know,
God had a plan.
yeah, and she listened.
Why didn't Peace Program use a scooter
Right.
or a bicycle?
Right.
Talk about someone who did walking meditation for 28 years.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she could have used a bicycle.
Yeah. But until you've entered into that kind of space of grace, even under the circumstances of adversity and difficult situations, the rational mind just can't wrap itself around it at all. What else were the comments?
Morey said a better source when we were talking about a source, you know, we were talking about insurance at the time.
Oh, yeah.
and good lesson, Yekaterina said. So, we invite you to close your eyes and just open your heart to receive the blessing of the Divine Presence, who dwells in all of its fullness within you and all around you and above you and beneath you and in front of you and behind you. The Divine is everywhere. In this presence, in God, we live and move and have our being. And this presence of pure unconditional love loves you more than you can imagine. Religion has often said, oh, God is angry about your shortcomings. No. God is pure, infinite compassion and yearns for you to be free and transformed in oneness with the divine and with all that exists. And the divine is pouring out to you right now the flowering heart blessing, the blessing of grace that causes your heart to flower in oneness with all that is. Just begin to receive it. The divine knows exactly what you need. This is not the time to worry about it or think about it. Just receive the blessing of the presence, who will flood you with light and life and love and healing and peace beyond all understanding. Breathe it in. Drink it in. Soak it up. Receive more and more and more. Just allow it to fill you, to flood your heart with light, your mind and your emotions with peace and clearing, divinely inspired thoughts and feelings and plans. Receive it in your body as it floods every cell in your body with the healing grace of the divine, to fill you with life, divine health. Receive it into your relationships and all your connections with the outer world to bring harmony and healing to all of your relationships. Imagine us sitting in a circle, blessing circle together with our eyes closed. Lift up your hands with your palms open, facing forward, as we invite the Divine Presence to pour the Flowering Heart blessing through all of us to each other in the circle. As it pours through you to everyone sitting with you, it's pouring back into you through all of them. Let us imagine, visualize the planet Earth in the center of our circle, and let us call upon the Divine. Invoke the Divine. Take a strong intention that the Divine would heal this planet, all the disharmony, that humanity's actions have been part of triggering. Whether that's human injustice or the climate or violence or war, we ask the Divine Presence to pour healing grace onto this planet, to heal the earth itself and all the living beings living here, to fill the world with the knowledge of the glory of God as the waters cover the sea. Flooding the earth with the golden white light of love and Divine Presence, opening every soul, every heart to be flooded with the Divine light. Golden Age. Shanti, Shanti. Now you could just relax your hands in your lap somewhere and open your eyes and begin to make direct eye contact with Suzanne and or me. Just keep gazing at least one of our eyes without looking away. As we dive into the light meditation, Suzanne and I are flooded with oceans of light and peace and love and grace, and it streams through every part of our being, especially through our eyes, the windows of the soul. And as you just keep looking, the light streams out through our eyes, in through your eyes, into your spiritual heart, causing the light of awakening, the fire of divine love to burn brighter and brighter and brighter within. Just keep looking and receiving. meditating as long as you like, or find a place nearby to lie in Shavasana. That's a beautiful yoga pose where you just lie comfortably on your back with your eyes closed and your arms loosely at your sides with your palms open and turned upward. Just lie in the presence with gratitude and let yourself dissolve. We love you very much.
Much love, light, and blessings.
Until we meet again, know that the divine within us beholds the divine within you, and we bow to you. Namaste.